Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Live with me, Ed Cooper. I'm here today with you to talk about something that is really close to my heart and really important for us all. We are being more and more aware of our stressors in life, in business, and the effect that it has on us physically, mentally, emotionally, not just on us, actually across the people that we meet. Customers, our team, our family. So it has a rolling negative impact when we don't deal with stress or the impact that that has on our lives. And as a coach working with many different business owners, I see that stress. Sometimes people get incredibly stressed with what's going on with them, and actually being able to sit down and talk through logically with outside perspectives incredibly important to their own personal well-being and de-stress as well, so that they can move forward with vigor and excitement and engagement, so that they can get the results that they really want. So I'm going to share 10 of these things with you today, things that you can identify within yourself and then do something about. Some of these you will know and just reconnect with them when you hear them, so that you can put them back into practice. You may just have slipped out of practice a little bit. We do forget these things and we need reminding. Some of these tips will be completely new to you and you're like, wow, I've not even thought of doing that. So take what you can from this session. This month of April is all about entrepreneur and leadership well-being, making sure that in this world that is continuously changing at a more and more rapid rate, knowing that whilst it is quicker, this is probably the slowest that change is going to happen now for the rest of the future. It's just going to get quicker and quicker. So we need to deal with that better and better. So I'm going to move on for those top 10 well-being tips for leaders and entrepreneurs. And the first thing is always about awareness. If you're not aware of what's going on physically and mentally for you, then you can't identify what to do about those things. So the first thing is actually taking time out to stop and listen to your body and what's going on. Is your heart rate pacing hard and fast? Maybe you're getting sweats every now and again because of the stresses that are going on. Maybe you can't quite gather your thoughts or your words in a way that you used to because there's so much noise going on around you. Maybe you're gaining weight and not really knowing why that is. You're not necessarily changed anything in your diet. So the first thing is really be aware. Now, if you're getting in the immediate, some of those signals from your body, like heart rate, or maybe you're sweating or you can't get your thoughts, really good tip, even if you're in your own chair at your desk, is to stop, close your eyes, and take some really long, deep breaths. 3 or 4 may get you back and in the short term help you just to readjust before you move forward. But awareness is absolutely key. If we're not aware of what's going on, we can't make the changes. So being aware, that's number one. Number two is take action. One of the biggest risks to your health and your well-being, knowing that there's stress going on for you, particularly when it's going over a long period of time, is not taking the action necessary to actually break out. That's a huge risk. Leaving it alone and expecting it to disappear is not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. We have to take action. So listen to the taps that are on your shoulder of stress that's happening in your life, because eventually those taps will become much harder. They'll become punches on the arm, metaphorically, and then those will become harder still, because they will be the type of taps that knock you down. And I've seen this happen to people before, where they haven't listened to the taps, they haven't taken the time that they need to recoup and regenerate themselves, and the body tells them, well, I'm sorry, but you're going to stop. So they get their body shuts down. Maybe they get depressed, or maybe they just completely break away from what they're doing and they give up. So to avoid that, take action. So identify, be aware, and then take action is absolutely key to this. By the way, if you're listening live, do join the commentary. Put some comments in if you're liking what you're hearing. If there's some blinding flashes of the obvious, put it in the comments. If you've got any questions, put it in the comments. If you've got anything that's going on for you, put those in the comments. We can share that. There's lots of people out there that I'm sure are feeling the same way as you. So taking action. The next one, the third one, is taking regular breaks. We have a large agenda every single day as leaders and business owners. So being able to prioritize and shift around things in our diet to ensure that we have breaks, lunch, etc. throughout the day is incredibly important too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a long time, but having a 45-minute work period at your computer, followed by a 2, 3, 4 minute stretch, move around, go to the toilet, grab a drink, whatever it is, but something away from your workplace is great to get the blood pumping back around your body, get the blood back into the brain, and to be able to rebalance yourself. So taking regular breaks. Now you can do this and use the tools like different apps to remind you to do that. But you know what, just taking your phone and simply putting in a reminder or putting in a countdown clock or something like that that reminds you to get up and move around. I know a lot of the people out there that I talk to these days, they have those just to remind them to do something, to move around. But taking regular breaks is great, great for the brain. And even better, if when you take those regular breaks, you can get out into a different environment. So if you're in the office, go for a walk outside, and you don't have to go far, but that breath of fresh air, that different environment, just something to our brains that's very positive, and also gives you a different perspective on things. Take some time to reflect. Sometimes when we're focused so hard on the things that are in front of us, we don't see the bigger, wider perspective and picture that's actually going on. So taking regular breaks, that's number 3. So number 4, we're on 4 already, change your habits. So if you have bad habits that are causing stress for you, so maybe saying yes, that's a bad habit where people could just say yes. I like to please people. I don't like to let them down, so I say yes and I take on more. Changing that habit, or a habit of maybe not exercising, just going home, picking up the remote control, watching the telly because that's the de-stress for the day for you, but actually it's not great for our body or our physical well-being. So being able to put in 30 minutes of exercise 3 times a week. And if you're doing no exercise at all right now, or you've lost touch with exercise, jumping to 3 times a week for 30 minutes is a huge jump. So taking small steps in changing your habits. So let's say, for example, you've listened to this today and said, you know what, I need to do more exercise. I don't do any, or I do very little, and I want to commit to getting to 3 times 30 minutes every week. Then start with 1 session in the first week and commit to that for a week or maybe 2, and then build it up and do 2, and then build it up and get to 3. And also be kind to yourself. You succeed when you succeed and you do a workout, celebrate, internally celebrate that. And also create that sense of achievement by ensuring that the 3 times a week is on average. It's a really useful term, on average. So 3 times a week on average, which means that sometimes you'll go on holiday and you won't do it, but the week after you might do 4 or 5 and get back. So just get back onto average, and that's okay as well. And to change the habits from where you are to where you want to be, there's a really good book, I think I might have it here with me, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a great book for changing habits, both negative to positive, and building new habits, new positive habits. But James talks about creating stepping stones to creating good habits or good behavioral habits. So if you think, oh, do you know what? I woke up this morning, I was going to go to the gym, or I was going to go for a walk for half an hour, but I just rolled over and went back to sleep. here's a couple of tips that James talks about in his book, which number one, get your kit ready the night before. So put your trainers out, put your t-shirt and your jogging bottoms and your tracksuit out, folded up in front of you. And that's the first thing you see when you get out of bed, for example, or it's the first thing you see when you get home from work. And that will trigger you just to put them on. So your first job is not to go to the gym. Your first job is just to put them on. Once you put them on, you are much more likely then to get in the car, or you're much more likely to get out the door and go and do something. So creating these habits, it's not a plunge pool into the depths of change. It's walking into one of those pools where there's a shallow start and you move into the water sort of building up around you. So change the habits slowly, consistently as you go through, but do it because you know that you need to make those changes. All right, so here's a couple of comments coming in. So Chris, good morning, Chris. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. 100%. You've got to know those triggers that are coming out without a shadow of a doubt. And Jane, good morning, Jen. Hey, always makes a lot of sense, Ed. You need to look after yourself before you can help and look after others. I love that. And you know, that phrase, sometimes it's thrown around a lot, but it's a really important one. And also it seems to be, from a psychological perspective, for a lot of people, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make logical sense. So if you know when you go onto a plane and you've got a child and they do the safety announcement right at the beginning before they take off, and they talk about the oxygen mask coming down, and they say, put your oxygen mask on before you help other people. And there's a reason for that, because if you can't breathe, if you can't take control and there's lots of smoke going around, you can't help other people. And it's the same thing when it comes to your own physical well-being as well. So I love that. Jen, thank you very much for sharing that. And Chris, fuel your growth with the right things: mind, body and spirit. Wow, we're getting and hitting the right key today on this. So thank you very much. So where are we? We've got, we're on to number 5. Number 5 is get some new hobbies. You will be surprised to hear that a lot of the time when I'm talking to business owners for the first time and I ask them what their hobbies are, they don't have any. They don't maybe cycle or part of a club or play rugby or play football or play tennis or anything. Literally, they just don't. I don't have time for hobbies, Ed. I'm so busy. I don't have time for hobbies. And one of the things that we'll work on is finding time for them to start new hobbies up. It's really, really important. And it doesn't have to be anything huge. But what happens over a period of time, in my experience, is those people who take that and step and do get some new hobbies, they make new friends, new connections. It helps their business, not only because they make new friends and connections, but because they are more relaxed and therefore more productive when they come back to work. But also, they realize what they've been missing out on, and then they go and get more hobbies. And then all of a sudden, their focus is about building a business where they don't work in it quite so much, so that they can do more of these things, because they realize that there's much more to life than having to just push all the time. So the first step here is committing to yourself for time for yourself. It doesn't have to be a long amount of time, but having a new hobby is a really, really important part of creating well-being for yourself. Here's the sixth tip we are on now. Sixth tip, it's let it go. A lot of people out there, and you know who you are, right? You know, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, that you want to grab hold of everything. Maybe you're micromanaging a little bit too much. Maybe you're just a little bit too focused on perfectionism. Maybe you say things like, nobody can do it as well as I can do. I can't possibly train that because they'll fail. Like that's about control and keeping control. And actually, we have to learn new habit. We have to learn to be able to let go a little bit and delegate to more people. So the tip here is go for quality, not for perfection. Go for quality, not for perfection. And progress and making movement and shifting forward is really important as well over perfectionism. A lot of people will say, well, I'll do that when all these things are in place. Now, some things need to be in place. They're critical to move forward, but not everything needs to be in place to move forward. So progress, not perfectionism, and go for quality, not perfectionism as well. Let it go. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I mentioned it in this letting go. It's delegate. Find people to delegate some of the stuff that you shouldn't be doing out to them. And you say, well, that's fine, Ed, but I'm a self-employed person. I don't employ anyone. I couldn't possibly delegate to anyone. Well, find some external resource to support you. A virtual assistant, someone who does social media, someone who can do sales calls for you. Whatever it might be, find the things that you shouldn't be doing in your business and identify who can do them. So really simply, write down absolutely everything that you do, top line, one liner. I do my art, I do financial analysis every month. I ring up people, I deal with my diary and admin, so on. So you write everything down and then circle and identify those things that you know you shouldn't be doing. And here's a good tip. If the things are on your list can be paid for by someone who earns less per hour than you do doing your art, your business, right? Then they are a really good place to start. So if you're earning 50, 60, 100 pound an hour in what you do, then paying for a 15, 20 pound an hour admin person, well, that's a bit of a no-brainer, right? Because you can do more of the other stuff. So identifying those. And then the next thing is create a plan where you're taking those things, those not to do things, create a not to do list, and identify when you're going to train someone how to do that, and then when you can hand them over. So you might have, email responses. I'm going to train someone to do that in April. I'm going to hand it over in May. Next one, I'm going to doing my invoicing. I'm going to train someone to do that in May and then hand it over in June. So it's simple as that. Create that plan and intention to delegate through. All right, got another comment coming in. Chris has asked a question, which is the most important one of the points to start with. Chris, it's number one. Number one that I started with earlier on. That to me is the most important. You mentioned it before. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. It is make sure you are completely aware. You've got to be aware. Awareness is the starting point of any journey to then make change. Okay, so talk to someone. If you're not aware, what are they seeing in you? Are they seeing any changes in you? So being completely aware is the very first step for me. Right, delegate. We're going to move on to number 7. Number 7 is know your circles of trust. What do I mean by circles of trust? I mean people that you can confide in and talk to, that are going to keep conversations about what you're going through, how you're feeling, confidential. Now, that you may have friends and family that are in your circles of trust that you can talk openly with about your situation. And back to that second tip that I shared with you, which was take action. This is part of this take action. Maybe you don't have any friends or family that you can trust well enough to have conversations about how you're feeling. So there are lots of support groups out there that can help you. So in Leicestershire, there's the LAMP, for example. If you've got some mental illness that you want to talk about and just get some support with, or you're just super stressed, there are lots of other support networks out there as well, with people that you can share your experience and talk to them about. And If it's not them, then maybe it's your coach. I get a lot of conversations with people about how they're feeling, and I can point them in the right direction to get the support that they need. But confide in someone. It's really important to share and confide in someone, because when you do share, it does release. They always say, a problem shared is a problem halved, but it certainly reduces some of the stresses in people when they share it. A lot of the time people say to me, oh, I feel so much better for talking about this. And all I've done is listened. So make sure you know who your circles of trust are. Go and have a conversation. Confide in them. Okay, so we're going on to number 9, get financially focused. Well, I'm a business coach, so there's going to be some business stuff in here as well. But being financially focused actually can reduce and remove a lot of stresses that are triggering how you're feeling. Knowing and understanding your numbers, your sales numbers, your cash flow forecast and position, your cash position in your business is really, really important. Why? Because when you know that, you know how to affect that. When you're measuring something, what gets measured can get improved. So being in a place where you understand financially your numbers, or from a sales perspective, your numbers, we can then start to improve them. When you improve them, it makes you feel better about the situation or position that you're in, both financially and from a mental well-being perspective as well. So it makes absolute sense to get close to your numbers. And again, I get it for a lot of leaders and business owners out there that maybe numbers isn't their biggest strength, need some support with that, need some maybe accountability or some push to get them to that place. So knowing numbers, monitoring those through to improve your own financial and personal well-being. Okay, so if you haven't done this, create a cash flow forecast. That is, what do you plan to come into your business, and what do you plan to spend, and have a look at whether you will be or plan to be in profit by the end of the year, and if so, how much. That will give you focus to keep moving in the right direction as you run through. If you don't know how to do that, come and talk to me. I'll spend half an hour with you and share with you exactly how to do that. All right, the final one. So we've gone all the way from being aware and taking action through these tips, like changing habits and getting new hobbies, through to this. This is the final bit. You have to commit. You have to commit to taking that action, and commit, more importantly, to rest and recuperation. We are not machines. We have to take time out and stop and rest and put things down and put things away. But a lot of people that I speak to, it's very common that they will react to their commitment to rest and recuperation. What do I mean by that? They'll say, oh, well, it looks like it's going to be quiet next week. I'm going to go on a break. Okay, well, that's fine. But what would happen if in your business you were never quiet? How do you take rest then? I have recently started coaching a business owner who perhaps isn't as aware. They've maybe buried their head in the sand a little bit. When I talk to them, they haven't been on holiday for 5 years. 5 years. They've not taken a break out of their business and had a proper rest. So that had to be like number one focus, is let's find some time for you to take rest and recuperate. Recreation, that word that we use, is if you break that down, it's time to recreate. Recreation, recreate yourself. We have to build ourselves back up. So to ensure that you can commit to rest and recuperation, plan ahead. You've got to plan ahead. So you need to, my wife and myself will sit down at the beginning of the year. So, okay, so when are we going on holiday? What are we doing at Easter? What are we doing in summer? Where are we going? And we plan some of that in. We plan other stuff in as we go along as well, but we've got the key elements in there so that we know we're taking time out and we've got something to look forward to that keeps us energized and focused as well. And then when you are away, commit to rest and recuperation properly by putting your out of office on, making sure that you've delegated to someone to look after the business whilst you're away, making sure that you switch your phone off so that you don't get distracted in any way. Plan ahead. Tell people you are going away. They will be fine with it, and they will wait until you come back. I absolutely guarantee that people are reasonable and they understand. Chris has asked another question. Thanks, Chris, for your getting involved and enjoying the conversation today. Can you give a real business world example of how actioning one of the points has helped one of your coaching clients? Yeah, well, hopefully, just sort of mentioning that with the client that I've just started to work with, where they hadn't been on holiday for 5 years. They have a plan to go on holiday. It's in the summer, and they're working hard now to make sure they've got all the systems in place. But the biggest one was probably one of my very first clients, and they text me. So we'd done a very similar thing. We'd done some identification. We created a plan. We looked at how to delegate stuff to people, and they text me and they said, wow, I'm out of the office on a Wednesday. And I took that as, well, that's really cool, because like he's taken some of these tips on to get out of the office and walk around. He's taking a break to get some fresh air and things like that. And I said, oh, well done. Like, you're out and about. That's brilliant to hear. What are you doing? And he texted back and said, no, you don't understand. He said, I am out with my family at Alton Towers for the day on a Wednesday. And it's the first time I've ever done that in the 2 years I've been in business. Thank you so much. And that means so much to them as a family to be able to do that and take that time out. And also for me. Now, that person's continued to work on that vein. And then when they're working in that way, they're actually in a position now where they don't work very much in their business at all. And now what they're doing is they're creating opportunities to build more businesses, because now they know how to do it properly. So that's another real life example. Thank you, Chris, for that question. I really appreciate that. So here's the key. I'm going to leave you with this thought. Once you're aware, the key here, and these are words actually from Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But the key thing to focus in on this is not to prioritize what is on your schedule, right? We've all got busy schedules. It's not about prioritizing your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. Yeah, so don't prioritize what's on your schedule, because you just keep going and going and going. But schedule your priorities, and your priorities have to start with you. And look after yourself. Look after the people in your team around you, your family and your loved ones, because then, as Jen said, when you help yourself, you can then help others even more. So that's it today. I hope you've taken some tips away from it. Just pick one thing. Go and work on that one thing. The thing with these, especially when you're giving 10 tips to people, they want to do it all and they do nothing because there's too much to do. Pick one thing that's going to make the biggest impact for you. If you're already aware, find something else. If you're not aware, start with that tip of just awareness. Spend some time looking for awareness. I am back next week for another live. We've got a new topic. We are moving into May. Can you believe it? So there's a new topic for May. Thank you so much for joining the conversation. It's wonderful to speak to you all. Have an amazing day and go and create a nice well-being event for you today, just to make yourself feel nice and special and relaxed. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.